Hello and welcome to the Vandy 24/7 podcast presented by FanDuel. I'm your host, Chris Lee, joined by Luke Wyatt. We'll talk about the aftermath of the Alabama game, the remainder of the season ahead, all kinds of stuff in and around Vanderbilt football. We'll take your questions. Again, reminder, podcast a little bit in transition as Billy's taking a full-time job. He's still going to help us, but I'm going to be taking over more of the hosting role. I'll get the graphics cleaned up and have this looking better in no time, but not quite there yet. And by the way, this show is not live today. We'll be getting those live again, but just got some housekeeping stuff to take care of before we get there. Vandy 24/7's football coverage is presented by former Vandy kicker Joe Bulovas with Bulovas Wealth Management of Raymond James. If there is one thing we all share, it's that our lives are all unique. At Raymond James, we believe that's worth celebrating, because financial planning isn't just about numbers and figures. It's about creating the life you envision. So whether you're building a future or preparing for retirement, a Raymond James financial advisor can guide you each step of the way, all while focusing on a plan that is uniquely suited for you. That's life well planned. To learn more, call advisor Joe Bulovas of Bulovas Wealth Management of Raymond James at 615-645-6742. Raymond James and Associates, member New York Stock Exchange, SIPC. Basketball season, not too far away. That is going to be presented by our friends at the Wash House. If you're dreading laundry day, if it's stealing time to do the things you truly enjoy, let the laundry professionals at the Wash House take care of that for you with 2 convenient locations in the greater Nashville area. Just drop off your dirty laundry. Our professional attendants can give you back the one thing you can never have enough of. That's your time. Within 24 hours, pick up your nicely folded, fresh, clean laundry ready to be put away. Check out washhouseclean.com. Stop in today. Get your time back and tell my buddy Steve Andrews I said hello while you are there. Luke Wyatt, the Alabama game is in the books. Vanderbilt loses by 17 or 16, I guess 17, although, touchdown late in the game. That's 16 points. That was a margin of victory. I don't know why that's so hard. Anyway, point is, it was a closer game than that for most of the way. Vanderbilt tied at halftime. What did you take away from Vanderbilt's loss in Tuscaloosa?
Well, my biggest takeaway was, and I talked about this last week, is the middle 8 that we needed to win, and we didn't win. In fact, we lost big time. I think that the drive before the half when they scored the touchdown was the difference in the game. I understand turnovers. I understand they had one as well. But to me, that was a big difference, and here's why. Alabama didn't really score a touchdown in the second half. They did that at the end, that little add-on with J.M. Miller when the game was over with. I don't even count that. So the final score is really 23-14 in my mind. So if we held Alabama to 3 field goal attempts, if that touchdown doesn't happen, we win the football game, even with the turnovers, or at least have a chance to win the football game with a field goal. I think that was it. I give Alabama a ton of credit. I think they were really, really good. But I think you can say that about 8 or 9 teams in this league, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Week to week, it wouldn't be surprised to me if Missouri beats Alabama Saturday. And vice versa the other way. I won't be shocked either way. I just felt like that maybe Diego pressed a little bit, put too much on his shoulders for probably the first time since last year against Texas. I think he probably did that too. But I feel like that moving forward, nothing's changed. Everything's still out there in front of Vanderbilt. They can do whatever they want to do. This could be a 5-7 season, and we still have a good football team, or we could be a 10-2 team and be in the playoffs.
Well, and it wasn't just Diego. I think that receiving core left, maybe 40 or 50 yards of drops on the field too.
Yeah. I agree. Trey Richardson was nowhere to be found. I don't know if that was by design or he couldn't get off the ball. I didn't pay a lot of attention to that on the replay that I watched. They really needed him to step up. Junior had a couple of drops. Eli probably had his worst game. All that combined, and you still have a chance in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, but bad time to do all those things at once. I mean, I think Alabama played, I don't know, maybe an A-, B+ kind of game. Vanderbilt's was probably a C-, and a lot of that had to do with Alabama.
It did, but in the past, Vanderbilt teams would have lost that game 52-7.
Right. Which I don't think there's any moral victories in this
one.
No. Not that you were suggesting there were, but I mean that says a lot about how far they've come.
Right.
They had a chance to go in there, and I think Alabama was more than ready for them. I mean, that place was electric. There was a lot of jawing going on before the game and stuff like that at players from the stands and things like that. I mean, it felt like they were treating Vanderbilt like it was Georgia or Tennessee or anybody in that class of teams, which again tells you where the program has come.
Well, let me say a couple of things that haven't been out there. And I know this too because I traveled with the team for 40 years, and I know what kind of abuse these kids take on the road, especially in those type of environments. Vanderbilt sucks and all that crap. Well, this time, it was all centered on Diego and for what he did during pregame and that type of things. But people don't understand the other side of the story that I got from people who were at the game, who I trust, and they wouldn't lie to me. They have no reason to, on what was said to Diego and said to Diego's family or part of his family. That stuff doesn't get out there. And if you haven't been on the road in the SEC and those type of environments, you just don't know how inappropriate everybody can be, both sides. And it's part of what it is, man. It's part of what it's not pretty. I don't really condone it necessarily, but I've lived through it, and you just shake your head and you move on.
Yeah, I mean, he did go through some stuff. I did not like the way he handled some things with some gesturing. And there was the one thing caught on film where he was using some very choice words. And I don't think that was a fight that he started. But, the thing that I had been concerned about, like, I get it. It's different generation. And, like, a lot of what Diego has done has gotten his team fired up and brought confidence. But I just didn't see the need for some of the bear poking and things like that he did. And why do you come out and say, well, if we play our best game, it won't be close? Like, what does that do to help your team?
It does nothing, but again, that's his personality.
Right.
Had to do all over again. He do the same thing. Not that it's the right thing, but that's who he is. And I want to tell everybody something too that they don't understand. And this was going on. I remember this going on back in the 90s in football. And I'll choose my words here, Chris, carefully. So don't think I'm going to say something inappropriate. The gesture that they've talked about on social media about that he made to the crowd, the old trick that players do and have done this for a long time. They all have all the quarterbacks and usually receivers and running backs have a hand towel that they drape in front of them to dry their hands. Well, they'll act like they're drying their hands when in actuality they're doing something else inappropriate. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
That's an old trick. And, so that if you get called out on it, you say, well, I was just drying my hands with the hand towel because the hand towel. So just to let you know, that's been going on since the 90s that I know of, maybe earlier.
Yeah, placed in just the right place. So
towel just right.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm kind of with you. I don't know that changes my opinion a lot. I'm a little more concerned about some things. I was concerned that Alabama could play ball control and keep the defense on the field. I mean, they did kind of accomplish their goal in holding Alabama to field goals instead of touchdowns. But the defense came up close to 500 yards. Now, Ty Simpson, I think, is a legit Heisman candidate, and they've got two great receivers in Bernard and Williams, and that was part of it. But hey, if you're gonna seek playoff level stuff, if that's a goal for you and it is for them, you've got to show up and figure out ways to beat those guys.
The only thing I have a issue with from Vanderbilt's perspective was, and I'm not really sure why. I know they were loading the box obviously to stop the run, but running backs only carried the ball 4 times. That is strange to me, and I don't. Dictated by the defense, I don't know. I don't think you'll see that again. I think there may have been some strategy there that they would like to take back.
Yeah, I wondered about that too. I don't like the older I get, the less I like criticizing play calling because I just, they know what they're looking at and I don't. They see things that are taken away. They're trying to set stuff up. But I did think, hey, the way you had your way in the run game the first half, that was kind of astonishing. Now, I think the second half, they carried 8 times for 9 yards.
Yeah.
Now, probably a lot of that was Pavia. So you can say, well, hey, run the ball more. Alabama made adjustments as it wasn't working. Maybe that was fair too. But it was kind of astonishing. As great as this team has been running the ball and as consistently great as it has been, that got taken away and they get shut out.
Yeah, and my concern going into LSU next week would be that LSU's defensive line is just as good as Alabama's probably. They do have to figure that out. I will say this: if the long run by Seti in the first half, that was an incredible combo block.
Yes,
and then I think Chase Mitchell. If you're able to execute, you can still run the ball against an 8-man, 9-man front. And I looked up one time, and Alabama had 10 guys within 2 yards of the line of scrimmage. You can't run then. You can't.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know how many times that happened. I just happened to notice it a couple times.
Yeah. Although, the one run Alexander had, I don't know where their safeties were on that play.
They were all off the boundary. I don't know what happened either. I don't know if they read some kind of, and it could have been some eye candy that they got caught up in with the receivers.
Yeah. Or it could have been an audible at the line of scrimmage. I don't know what happened, but like that was pretty astonishing.
It was.
Yeah, I mean, I think going forward, it feels to me like they can beat anybody on the schedule. And like if former Vanderbilt coach James Franklin taught us anything, they could lose to anybody on the schedule ahead.
Yeah. Luckily, we don't have UCLA. But yeah, no, you're exactly right. And again, I've said this before, even back when we had the 5-7 season. You have a team at that time that was fighting just to get those 2 SEC wins they got that year. We're in a position now to where we're good enough to where if we play our game and don't turn the ball over and control the clock and don't make stupid penalties, that we can beat everybody left. We really can. So that was not the case 2 years ago. That was not the case. No. It took almost perfection for us to play as well as we did last year. Last year, I don't think Vanderbilt got enough credit for what they did last year. Every football game except for South Carolina and a little bit of Tennessee was a one-score game going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, but this team is considerably better than that one. No, the one thing that has concerned me is like they're not going to. I thought coming in, they're not going to be facing like they had not faced athletes like Alabama had. They'd not faced an elite quarterback. They'd not faced a Williams or Bernard. And I know LSU has been just dreadful offensively, but that's a talented receiver room they'll face in a couple of weeks. And Garrett Nussmeier is a really talented quarterback. I started thinking, DJ Lagway, it's just been awful this season. And he rests up for 2 weeks, gets well. They beat Texas. He threw for a ton of yards. Nussmeier's got, I think, some kind of a core body injury. I don't remember what. You do wonder a little bit, like if he gets healthy and the way Alabama's receivers got open at times against Vanderbilt's, if you're Vanderbilt, you got to be a little wary that LSU with a little health could find something there because I think they've got maybe the deepest receiver room in the league.
They do. Ty Simpson, what he did better than any quarterback's done against us in a while was buy time. I thought Harry did a good job. If you count to 4, he was still holding the ball running around a lot of times. And you just have to give a kid credit. I mean, the one touchdown pass when we held him for such a long time and then finally Williams gets open in the end zone, he just did a great job of stepping up into the pocket, getting away from the rush, and then finally you can't guard a Williams that long. There's no way. Nobody can do that. NFL corner can do that.
I thought the most impressive play he made, it was, I think, in the second half, and there were 3 or 4 guys flushing him to the right. And it was a 3rd and 6 or something like that. And Langston Patterson comes up to stop him and goes off a man that's in front of Simpson. And as soon as it happens, Simpson just flips him the ball for a first down. So he bought time. And then the minute, a defender changed positions and left him a little throwing lane, he made it. And that's what Alabama ended up doing, was just holding the ball and keeping Vanderbilt's offense off the field. I just thought little play, like I don't think that he made, other than the interception, I don't know that Ty Simpson made a mistake of any consequence all day.
No, not much. And Chris, we talk about it being a game of inches, of course. The Pavia fumble, that was a great defensive play by raking it out by Jefferson.
Yeah.
But look at it this way, too. The Ty Simpson fumble, it wasn't a fumble. He was down. 6 inches before that, Vanderbilt's got the ball there, so you take away another.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just football, and there's not a lot you can do about it when it happens in the moment. Last year, we were all happy because we got the pick six interception, and we got the Seabrooks play, and everything went our way last year, and that's why we won the game. So
yeah, I thought. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm good.
I thought with the Pavia fumble, like he holds on that ball 0.2 of a second longer, and it's not a fumble.
Yeah.
And with Simpson, I thought a little bit. I wasn't certain that the ball wasn't starting to come loose before he hit the ground, just a little bit. And again, you make that come out a little sooner. You flip those, and maybe Vandy gets a fumble return touchdown, and maybe Pavia's isn't a fumble, and they're first and goal at the 1, and it's a different game. I mean, that's not the way it happened. I'm not saying either of those were bad calls. It just that in a game like that, where big plays like that were a big thing, just literally fractions of a second were a difference in both instances.
Yeah, that's true.
Trying to think of where else I wanted to go with this one. I didn't think they caught any breaks with the play clock either. A couple times I thought Alabama, the clock hit 0, they let the play go on. I don't know what what is the guidance for officials there? Like, is the split second the clock hits 0, they're supposed to call it, or what?
If the ball is being, excuse me, if the ball is being snapped at 0, then it's not a delay of game.
Yeah.
Ball is still in the center's hands, it should be delay of game.
Yeah. I'd have to watch that again. The other one that and they didn't bring it up on TV, but Stowers clearly got bumped on that pick too.
No doubt. That was, again, a fluky kind of play. I know that Diego had several options there if you look at the replay of other people being open. But Eli was open too in his mind because the official was blocking the linebacker.
Okay.
Play. He did. Did he come through Eli? Yeah. He bumped him and it was a penalty. There was also another one when Sherrill was interfered with that they didn't call. But yeah. I think that the whole game they weren't going to call. I think both sides were allowed to get away with some hand fighting some interference.
Well, but bottom line is we went in the game saying Alabama's looks like the better team. If Alabama plays really well, Alabama's probably going to win the game, and that's what happened. I mean, yeah, there were some breaks that didn't go their way, and so I think the better team just won the game was the issue at the end of the day.
I think they did on Saturday. I do think this, and Pavia alluded to it a little bit. I know that both teams have one loss. Now theirs is a non-conference loss, but he's correct in saying that they could meet again because they could. If Missouri beats Alabama Saturday, everybody's back to square one. And then if we happen to beat LSU next week, then we have an advantage again. So, it's going to be a great 6 weeks. I'm excited about it. I think you've mentioned it before, and I feel the same way. There's 8 or 9 teams in this league that are capable of winning the conference.
Yeah. Well, and I think they and Auburn are the only 2 teams that have played 3 Power 5 teams on the road so far. I'm looking off to my left to a schedule. I'm like Missouri still hasn't left home yet, and still won't have left home after Saturday. Tennessee's played one away game, 1 neutral game. So I know that Virginia Tech is not what Virginia Tech was supposed to be. We'll wait and see on South Carolina if it ends up having something closer to the year we thought it would. But those were places where they went in the buildings and the fans and the teams were ready to play those games.
They were.
And Vanderbilt just took them out of their games. I don't think anybody's faced tougher competition so far on the road than, Auburn's been to A&M and to Oklahoma and to Baylor. Those are 3 tougher games. But in terms of environments, they have really faced some big time ones so far.
Right.
And a week ahead, I'm looking. I've got just a little model I use to say what would the spreads be. They are. The LSU game is literally a pick 'em. LSU's favored by 1/10 of a point by what I've got.
That will change after this weekend, depending on how they play.
One way or the other. Vanderbilt will be favored by a couple over Missouri, though that could change by then. There'll be about a 6-point dog at Texas, about a 4-point favorite over Auburn. about a 14-point favorite over Kentucky, and about a 5-point dog at Tennessee, according to just some analytics I've run. So we'll see. The lines will be a little different, but I mean, everything is a one-score game there except Kentucky, and hey, maybe Cutter Boley catches fire and they find new life at the end of the season. You see that sometimes, and we've seen so many reminders of how a team could, get upended by somebody that didn't see it coming, like Penn State did this week. So,
right. Bama it wound up being, I think, 13.5 finally right before kickoff. And I agree with that line, even though I thought Vanderbilt had a chance. If Alabama played their A game, which they did, they're going to beat pretty much anybody in that environment.
Yeah, I think they're the best team in the league right now.
They can be. I haven't seen enough of Ole Miss because we don't play them, so I don't focus on them a lot. They may be awfully good, but I guess they're the highest ranked team in the top 25, aren't they, from the SEC?
Yeah, I think the way I rank them right now, I think Ole Miss is 3. A&M's awfully good too, and A&M's getting better. Ole Miss has beaten some. Well, I mean, LSU at home, that was a nice win. The other games are like they played Arkansas, they played Kentucky, probably the worst 2 teams in the league.
Yeah,
which like those still aren't easy games, but we'll see what happens when they play. Yeah, and even LSU has been limited just because it's not been able to move the ball. So we'll see. And I think Alabama's played Vanderbilt, it's played at Georgia, it's played at Florida State. I mean, that's the 3 toughest games anybody in the country's played, I would think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Anything else on football, or do you just want to get into the mailbag?
We can get into the mailbag. One thing I want to say, and we can talk about it a little bit next week if you want to, Chris. I'm headed over to basketball practice Thursday to watch them practice, and maybe I can get a feel for what we got coming up in basketball season.
Yeah, I need to get over there too. And I'll bet is this the weekend there's a baseball scrimmage?
I'm not sure. There's 3 basketball openings where fans can go, or you can go through Robert Sampson.
Yeah, I'll probably try to get in one of those because I need to go see them too, and I need to go see baseball. It's just been an eventful fall here. So, okay, let's go to the mailbag. That is presented by our friends at Sutherland and Belk, a family-owned injury law firm. If your loved one has been hurt in an accident, give Taylor Russell a call, 615-846-6200. See what your rights are and if they can help. They're the longest-running sponsor of the show. We very much appreciate what they have done. Luke appears on the guest line. That's presented by John Levin and Womble Bond Dickinson, friends of the show. We appreciate their support here of what we do as well. Okay, we hit this earlier. Theodore 5 says, did Pavia do too much talking before the Alabama game, or should he keep it up?
Yeah, we've discussed that. Again, that's who he is. I don't think that's going to change for the next 7 weeks or 8 weeks, whatever we got left, for sure.
ACD, 2 questions. First, have you heard if Pavia was dinged up on the big hit he took in the Bama game? Second, is the quarterback of the future on the team, or will it need to come in the portal?
I don't think he was dinged up. I think it was just a really good hard hit, but it was right into the shoulder pads. Those just kind of jar you. It's almost like taking a little punch in the face, but not a hard one. Usually you're fine from that. So I don't think he was shaken up, no.
Steve VU98, how would you grade the offensive line? Do you think we got away from the run too much in the second half?
There's a reason, like you and I just discussed, Chris, that we got away from the run. Obviously, like I said, I saw a couple of times they had 10 guys within 2 yards of line of scrimmage. You can't run against that. But I don't know about that. I'll have to see the film and actually talk to a coach. I hate to question Coach Gregory, Lee, and Coach Shute because they know what the heck they're doing more than I do. So there's a reason for all that.
Steve VU98, in what areas besides turnovers do they need to improve to beat LSU?
To beat LSU, we pretty much have to go back to our identity and not turn the ball over in the red zone like we did twice. Keep the penalties at a minimum and win time of possession.
Yeah, to me, the big thing is just do not allow them opportunities downfield. You got to get to Nussmeier in time. You cannot let Aaron Anderson, Nick Anderson, Berrien Brown, those guys run loose, because I know the numbers have not been good, but they have the talent to really put up a big day. So
yeah. If Nussmeier is healthier than he is right now, like you said, he's got a core, like a groin type injury, or maybe a stomach muscle injury. If he's better and feeling better and throwing the football more accurately, you really can't let him take the top off of you.
yeah, I mean, in that Florida game, with Lagway having a couple of weeks to get healthy, that's a little scary, I think. So, okay, let's see. This is from Nash Native, an observation with a question. Rewatching the game last night, my closing thought was Vanderbilt can sustain the success after Pavia. He did nothing mind-blowing in that game. The offense could move the ball. Year 2 under Beck is showing the team more of the dazzle. The team is more than the dazzle Pavia, laying the right QB, and I fully expect this team to be a 7+ win team next season. I would push back on that a little bit, but I'll hear your opinion.
Well, the thing that they'll miss with Pavia, obviously, is talent on the field, but they're going to miss what he brings to the team throughout the week in the locker room, holding kids accountable to be in the weight room and stuff. Because from everything I've been told, he doesn't back away from anything and any of his responsibilities. He could be a little bit of a prima donna because how special he is to this program, but he's not. He's the first one to be in the weight room, the last one to leave, that type of thing, and he's in there cheering his guys on. So that's the part I think they'll miss as much as anything.
Well, and this kind of goes with that question too. Vandy Danger, I may have counted wrong, but one time I thought we lose 53 players off this roster for next year. Do we have sufficient revenue sharing and NIL funds to replenish this roster? What would be your strategy moving forward vis-a-vis freshman recruits and portal players?
Well, I mean, we're going to have to obviously replace again the offensive line. I mean, I think we may have 1 or 2 guys coming back that are in the first 8. I know we have some nice looking freshmen coming in, but you don't win with freshman offensive linemen in the SEC. They can be a depth piece, but that's it. It will be. I mean, I don't think you're going to hear any talks about national championship next year. That's for sure. There'll be a drop off.
Yeah, I mean, that's the heart of their team. It's their offensive line and their quarterback. I don't know how you just, you can't talk them up as being special, which by Vanderbilt standards, both of them are, and then say, oh, well, lose those guys, you'll just replace them. I just don't think historically it's worked that way.
Yeah, I will say this. I mean, I don't think we realized just how good this offensive line was going to be. Camp, and they did a heck of a job replacing with Henderson and Glass and those guys. And Jordan White, I said it before, I still think he's the best center in the SEC.
Yeah, he may be. I mean, he's very, very good. Gold River, have you heard anything about the mindset of this team right now and morale? How do you think they'll play against LSU?
I have not. I'm going over to the complex first of next week, maybe get a feel then. But right now, everybody's just kind of releasing and having a moment to themselves. They're going through, they have a couple of practices, and then they'll let the kids go home. This is a big week to recharge your batteries, and they need it. At 6 weeks is, I think, the longest anybody has to play is 6 weeks in a row.
Mr. Peabody, I believe it was Luke last week that talked about the importance of the middle 8. I can't imagine a worse middle 6 than last Saturday, so I'm guessing 8 is a flexible number. What should have been done differently to try and prevent that 1 minute and 13-second TD drive by Alabama to end the first half? It was almost as if our defensive coordinator, defensive backs thought the half had already ended. Our opening possession of the second half was atrocious. What should Beck have done differently on that drive?
Well, I have to go back and watch every play, but obviously the one before the half, I think, hurt more than anything. I mean, you're up 14-7. If you go into halftime, they're feeling a little more pressure than they did. They felt so good about being able to drive the length of the field in a short period of time. I think that helped their mentality for the second half. And I mentioned this last week, and I hammered it home, that we had to get there with 4. And that's what we were doing. We were trying to get there with 3 and 4 during that drive, and we weren't getting there. So, therefore, what happened.
Yeah. Vandy Guy 96, any ideas or updates on the overall health of the team coming into the bye week?
No, the only one I'm concerned about that I think I saw toward the end of the game is Colby Taylor. I don't know if that was cramp. At the time, it looked worse, but I think he was already went off on his own accord. So hopefully it's a good time to get him some rest.
Vandy Guy 96, what are your thoughts on the board conversation and another thread of the alleged 50,000 seat stadium that Coach Lee mentioned to a poster? I have not seen that one. Have no context on that.
Yeah, a guy we both know, Villia Perrier, got that information from a meeting or a lunch or whatever. That's something in the future. That's look how long it's taken them to do what they've done.
Oh man.
So
yeah.
I mean, I love the fact that they're talking about making things better still, because that's one of the things Clark has alluded to. If people will read between the lines and listen to him, as much as we're excited about how the team is this year and the possibilities of this season, he's talking about moving forward. We got to keep pushing forward.
Yeah.
And, Chris, you've harped on it. I've harped on it, that we always want to just kind of stay afloat instead of pushing forward. And this is the time to do it. And with NIL now, we can compete, and we see that.
Yeah, I mean, the things that get done around there with any sense of urgency or anything close to on time are things that involve women's sports.
Well,
that's why the basketball thing got done as quickly as it did.
Yeah.
I mean, comparatively speaking.
I agree with that, and I saw that before I left Vanderbilt. He's heading in that direction, and we even had an athletic director tell me one time, and I won't mention his name on here, that we can never win in football. I just want to have the best tennis and golf programs in the SEC, be known for that, and basketball.
Yeah, well, I mean the mentality around there forever has been all sports are just as important as the others.
Yeah, and everyone says that. Like the University of Florida, they'll say that too. But when you talk about resources and what you actually do for those other sports,
yeah,
you're right.
Like the basketball thing, I heard care was taken to make sure the women got every square inch that the men got. That's always the mentality at Vanderbilt. Somebody told me one time, it was very close to the baseball program no longer there. He's like, you better hope we never get softball, because there will be big demands that everything baseball gets, softball has in equal measure. And I think that always controls everything. So I just don't see the football stadium getting touched anymore for a while. But I think, I'll kind of believe it when I see it when baseball gets done on time because of the same thing.
I will say this. I was told by someone who's close to Daniel Diermeyer that he made the comment, and I agree with this, that the women should get everything the men get, but the men should get more. Does that make sense? In other words,
give them match what the men have now, but get them. Yeah, he's right.
He's right. And the women should get everything that, like our women's soccer should get what Florida's women's soccer gets.
Right.
But the men should be getting also what Florida football gets.
Yeah. And look, I got nothing against women's sports. My daughter plays lacrosse. Hope she plays it in college one day. I go to all her games. Saw my niece play basketball at Colorado State. But I mean, your priorities have got to be in football and probably men's basketball and baseball in that order, is an athletic department. I just don't think that's ever been the case.
No, I agree with that.
So let me see if there's anything else in terms of questions here. That might be it, Luke. It is. So any other parting thoughts? I know we'll have basketball to discuss soon enough.
Yeah. After I go Thursday, like I said, I'll give a little rundown on what I saw, whatever I can garner from being over there Thursday, and on next week's podcast. I assume we'll go next Tuesday or whatever. And then besides that, get this team healthy. I'm excited that the kids get to go home. This was always a time at Vanderbilt, I felt, even when the teams weren't competitive, that it at least helped us when we came back off of a fall break. I always felt to go. There wasn't a sluggish moment to it. They were excited about getting back out there and doing what they love. So I'm looking forward to the LSU game. I know it's going to be it's 11 a.m. kickoff, isn't it?
Maybe. Sounds right.
I know it's a day game. We were in that 11
Okay.
though, so I'd say we were at 11 a.m. probably. Maybe the ABC.
Yeah.
But besides,
I love those.
I do too. Besides that, I'm Tip Top Magoo.
All right. Well, I think next week is SEC basketball media day, which I was planning to go to in Birmingham, and I just found out they have forever they had the men on one day and the women on another day, and now they're splitting it over 2 days. So I'm not sure if I'm making the trip or not, but we'll find out. So yeah, I guess that's it for today. We'll be back soon enough. Again, we'll probably have a couple more of these during the week. Got some things I want to get to that just haven't had the time to yet with my mom's passing and just with busyness around here. So we'll get there eventually. Hey, Luke, thanks for joining me as always. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. God bless you. And it's been the Vandy 24/7 podcast presented by FanDuel.